The transport ship hummed through the void between galaxies, its hull scarred from 3 years of relentless combat. Ken stood in the cargo bay, his military uniform still bearing the dust of the Zarian campaigns. The container before him was unlike anything he'd seen in his decade of service. Sleek, alien metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "This is your reward, Soldier Ken," the Admiral had said before departing. "The Galactic Council has deemed you worthy. Open it when you're alone." Ken's hands trembled slightly as he approached the container. Around him, the cargo bay stretched empty and silent. He'd lost count of how many battles he'd fought, how many worlds he'd helped liberate from the Void Swarm. His body bore the scars, some visible, others buried deep where nightmares lived. The container's seal hissed as it released. Cool vapor spilled across the floor, and Ken stepped back instinctively, his soldier's reflexes still sharp. The lid rose slowly, revealing a soft blue luminescence from within. Inside lay a woman. Ken's breath caught. She wasn't human, that much was immediately clear. Her skin held an ethereal quality, shifting between pale lavender and soft blue like aurora lights dancing across flesh. Delicate crystalline patterns traced along her arms and neck, catching the light and refracting it into tiny rainbows. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, moving gently despite the still air. Her eyes opened. They were the color of distant nebulas, deep purple with flecks of gold that seemed to swirl and shimmer. She looked directly at Ken, and he saw confusion flicker across her elegant features. "Where am I?" Her voice was melodic, carrying harmonics no human throat could produce. Ken's military training warred with his shock. "You're on transport vessel Humanity's Pride. They said you were my reward." "I don't understand." The woman sat up gracefully, her movements fluid and precise. She wore garments that seemed woven from starlight itself, conforming to her form while somehow remaining modest. "A reward?" She tilted her head, studying Ken with those mesmerizing eyes. "I am Mia of the Celestian people. I was told I was being sent to repay a debt." "What debt?" Ken asked, his soldier's suspicion rising. Mia stepped out of the container, and Ken noticed she was tall, nearly matching his own 6-foot frame. "Your species saved my world. When the Void Swarm descended upon Celestia Prime, we had hours before extinction. Your fleet, you came. You lost 12,000 soldiers defending our planet. The Council of Elders decided we must honor this sacrifice." Ken felt his jaw tighten. He remembered Celestia Prime. The sky had been filled with swarm ships, each one a writhing mass of biological nightmares. The battle had lasted 72 hours. He'd carried wounded comrades through streets where alien architecture mixed with human blood. "So they sent you as, what, a prize? A trophy?" The bitterness in his voice surprised even him. Mia's expression shifted, something like pain crossing her features. "Not a prize. A companion, a partner if you would accept." She looked down at her hands where the crystalline patterns pulsed gently. "Among my people, the highest honor is to bond with those who showed ultimate courage. I volunteered, Soldier Ken. I chose to come." "Why?" The question came out rougher than he intended. "Because I was there," Mia said softly. "I was in the medical tower when your forces held the line at the Plaza of 7 Stars. I watched humans, so fragile compared to the swarm, so small compared to the war machines, stand and fight when retreat would have been logical. I saw a soldier pull a Celestian child from rubble while plasma fire burned around him. That soldier lost his arm saving that child." She stepped closer, and Ken caught a scent like ozone mixed with exotic flowers. "I saw what you call humanity. Your people don't have our telepathic abilities. You don't have our longevity or our technology. But you have something else. Something that made you travel across half the galaxy to save strangers." Ken felt the walls he'd built around his emotions beginning to crack. "We lost good people at Celestia Prime." "I know their names," Mia said quietly. "All 12,473. Every Celestian knows them. We have built a memorial that spans 3 kilometers carved from living crystal. Each name glows eternal. Your people are remembered as the guardians of the 7 stars." She reached out slowly, giving Ken time to step away if he wished. He didn't. Her hand touched his cheek, and he felt a gentle warmth spread from the contact. "I didn't come as a reward, Ken. I came because I wanted to understand. To know the people who would sacrifice so much for strangers. To perhaps help heal the wounds that such sacrifice creates." Ken closed his eyes. He hadn't realized how much he'd been carrying. The weight of command decisions, the faces of those who hadn't come home. The question that haunted every quiet moment. Was it worth it? The child, he said, his voice rough. The one pulled from the rubble. Did she survive? Mia smiled, and it was like watching a star being born. She did. Her name is Lyria. She's 10 cycles old now. She's studying to be a healer. She speaks of the human soldiers in her prayers every night. Something broke inside Ken, something that had been frozen since the battle. A single tear traced down his scarred face. The council didn't send me as payment, Mia continued gently. They sent me as a bridge, to show that what your people did mattered, that the sacrifice was seen, honored, and will never be forgotten. She paused, her otherworldly eyes searching his. But beyond duty, I came because I wanted to meet the humans, to know the species that redefined what heroism means to 1,000 worlds. Ken opened his eyes and really looked at her, not as a reward or a responsibility, but as Mia, a person who had made her own choice to be here. I'm not a hero, he said quietly. I'm just a soldier who did his duty. That, Mia said, her hand still gentle against his face, is exactly what makes humanity extraordinary. You don't see your own light, she smiled again. Perhaps I can help you see it, if you'll let me. For the first time in 3 years, Ken felt something other than exhaustion and pain. He felt hope. I'd like that, he said. Mia's crystalline patterns glowed brighter, responding to her emotion. Then let us begin, Ken of Earth. Teach me about humanity, and I will teach you how the galaxy sees you, as the species that proves courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and fighting anyway, about being mortal and choosing to stand for something eternal. In the cargo bay of a battle-scarred ship, between a human soldier and an alien woman, a new kind of bridge began to form, one built not on duty or debt, but on mutual respect and the understanding that sometimes the greatest rewards are the ones we choose for ourselves.